People of the internet! Let's get into the real reason men don't want to date anymore. Of course, this is a clip that comes from the Diary CEO podcast. Steve Bartlett, the host, talking with Dr. Orion Taraban. Let's get into this clip. Let's find out, see if we can gain some insight from this video in terms of the real reason men are not wanting to date. Of course, I'll share my thoughts. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get into it.
I really want to just close off on the point about the world that men find themselves in before we move to the world that women find themselves in, and then try and tackle some of those problems. So they're lost in terms of understanding what masculinity is. We know that they're finding it harder to find dates. They're finding it harder to have sort of sexual relationships. Is there anything else that I need to understand about the man in the current social climate?
Well, I think the problem for the vast majority of men, especially young men, is their invisibility. Most men are wallpaper. And the world does not treat men very well when they want nothing from them. I talk about that in the very first pages of the book, that to understand why some people are rich in relationship opportunities, whether they're romantic, professional, friendship, etc., and other people are not, it's not correct to say that it's the good people who have relationship opportunities or the virtuous people. It's the people that other people want things from that have relationship opportunities. If you have more of what other people want more, you are going to have relationship opportunities throughout your lifespan. And that's very difficult, because imagine being an 18-year-old man who have no money and you've never had money. You may not have a job. You may never have had a job. So you have no skills. You're kind of invisible to women because you don't have yet anything that women might find conducive for a long-term relationship. If you're cute, they might hook up with you. But if you're not even that, I mean, why waste their opportunity? Why waste their time when there are other more attractive options available? And you're also kind of useless to most men because you don't yet have the skills and the experience to be a good team player. Like, I wouldn't want you on my squad if you've never been out in the field. You're going to be a liability. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to carry your ass off the field. So you can't be here either. And that creates obviously the catch-22, which is, well, where am I going to get the experience if no one gives me a shot? It's actually very difficult to be a young man. You don't have what either women or more experienced men want or need, and you're generally very disposable.
Very interesting, man. I've been thinking about this as of late as well, too, man. Just like the current dating dynamics. Of course, this video comes from the Diary CEO podcast, so I'll be sure to leave the link down in the comment section below so you guys can check it out in its entirety. A lot of these videos I like to just get some context from, see what the overall theme of the video is, and then, of course, I'm going to dive in and share my thoughts as well, too. Again, the video is entitled The Real Reason Men Don't Want to Date Anymore. And this brother right here, of course, goes on to say, of course, this is a psychologist and dating expert, Dr. Orion Taraban. Of course, I've seen his videos on YouTube as well, too. I've come across a few of his videos on YouTube. Very interesting fellow as well. In his opinion, he believes, especially a younger man or whatever the case is, but men, when it comes down to it, they're not dating anymore because they're useless. I feel like useless is always a funny word when associating with people, man. You're useless. To call somebody useless is like, damn. Like, what am I, a commodity? Oh, man. But it's just like, again, in his example of the 18-year-old boy who, you know, maybe isn't financially stable, you know, of course, and what can one expect from an 18-year-old, right? I feel like an 18-year-old, you know, maybe speaking romantically here, of course, dating with another 18-year-old, I feel like there's limited expectations to what you can expect. But of course, in this society that we live in, where older men, you know, usually frequent younger women, you always typically hear, even when I was in high school, you frequently hear younger girls dating older men as well, too. So if the younger girls who are maybe 18, 19, 20, whatever the case is, aren't dating their age groups, and they're dating older men, of course, who have more money or success or whatever the case is, then yeah, what does that mean for the 18-year-old who's still trying to figure things out? Very interesting, man. He touched on a lot of things as well, too. It comes down to commodity. I think the people that are in relationships now are the people who have things to offer, right? That's not a reach at all. I do agree with that, to be completely honest. Like, I'll say this, man, and I've been feeling like this for some time, and this is what I was trying to explain to, like, my mom, like, of course, my mom, you know, get married, get a wife, get kids, whatever the case is, and it's just like, it's not as simple. It's not as simple because the requirements, right? The attributes that one must have down pat before even courting a woman, you know, specifically for a man, of course, that's what we're talking about here. You got to come correct or don't come at all. I feel like that's the current energy or vibe of just like modern day dating here in 2025. around the world. I was going to say here in America, but just like around the world. If you ain't got it, you're not in the game. If you don't have anything to offer, you're not in the game. And of course, this even goes back to speaking to, the female nature. Of course, a lot of the times we hear that women are, innately hypergamous. Of course, hypergamy just being women are always going to go with the option that better suits their needs and what they got going for, right? So even just across other men, I always said this to myself as well, too. This is a philosophy that I personally believe in myself. I feel like dating is on the back burner to me until I'm fully established with myself in all areas, not just financially either, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, aligned with your purpose and path. These are some of the things that we talk about on this platform as well, too. Just being good people, being useful people, right? So I feel like if you have other boxes, I feel like it's all about priorities, right? So if there's other things that you need to have checked off, dating shouldn't really be on your radar, in my personal opinion, unless you're dating within your realm or your league or whatever the case is, somebody who's willing to work with you, do thick and thin. But sometimes I feel like those traits are out the window, right? I feel like I always say this as well, too. There's two types of women. There's women that are willing to help you get across the finish line, and there's another type of woman who is waiting for you to cross the finish line, right? And I'm not necessarily saying either or is bad. As I've grown and matured, because, I used to feel a certain type of way when, women only seem like I'm not helping no man. I'm not helping him. Nah, he got to come cry. I'm not building a man. I always hear that narrative a lot of the times as well. I'm not building a man so he could just leave me when he's on, whatever the case is. And men, sometimes y'all do that. You'll neglect the woman who was there with you from thick and thin, although that's a rare trait. Maybe that's why they stopped doing it. There are a demographic of women who would be willing to work with a man if he had at least some going for him. Maybe if he didn't have all those boxes checked off, but they'll probably be willing to work with a man depending on, where he's at in his life, and see to it that they both get across that finish line. I think that's how it should be done. I think ideally when a man and a woman come together, maybe they're not established and they're both helping each other, as they say, iron sharpening iron. Yeah, I feel like that's a beautiful situation when y'all both make it across the finish line together. But nowadays, women are looking for the finished product. If you're not the finished product, it's on to the next, to be completely honest. And that's what's unfortunate about the situation. So again, according to this video, very interesting video. I wanted to watch a little bit more. Of course, it looks like they were speaking into some of the things as well, too. It looks like it was veering into getting a little bit dark, whatever the cases. But what value do you bring is what I was thinking as I was watching this video. What value do you bring? You always hear the narrative of what do you bring to the table, right? A man asks a woman, what do you bring to the table? And then the woman will respond, I am the table, right? But in all seriousness, what does a man bring to the table? I feel like in terms of just romantic relationships and business relationships, because of course you heard this gentleman, of course, speaking just in relation to just platonic business relationships as well too, with men and versus other men. If I'm a man building a team or building an organization, yeah, I'm probably going to be joining forces with the man who has resources, who has knowledge, who has a skill set, as opposed to the man who does not. You see what I'm saying? But it's a harsh world for the man who's still trying, right? I'm still trying. I feel like there's a lot of men, of course, that we're still trying to, become that version of ourselves that does have all those boxes checked. But this arena that we're living in right now makes it very difficult to do so. And these are some of the things that us men like to speak about, where it feels like women in particular give us a blind eye when they don't understand the plight of the man. We can even talk about the African-American man, but just as the man as a whole, it's hard for the man. The expectations that society puts on us to establish ourselves in our career and be in shape and be somewhat socially, whatever the case is, affluent, and be financially affluent and get the house and the car and the corner office. There's a lot of expectations that society throws on us as men. And when you don't have those things, I'd say social media and popular mainstream culture makes you feel like you are inadequate or you are behind because you haven't accomplished certain things in your life as a man. So if the world and women and our families are looking for the men to provide and the men to protect and the men to have all our ducks in a row, the second that you don't have your ducks in a row, I can see how mental health declines for a man. And the loneliness and isolation comes into place as well too, when a man feels like he's far behind where he should actually be because of the pressures that society says we should be at a certain age or a certain time, at a certain salary cap, or whatever the case is. So I get it, man. But specifically to dating, I think it's only going to get worse, to be completely honest. I do think women, because typically in most situations, women are always going to have options. That's one of the factors as well too. It's a lot easier for a woman to gain the attraction of a man as it is for a man to gain the attraction of a woman, right? I think, did I say that right? Yeah. So for men, it's harder for us to go on the prowl and find a woman and hope she's attractive and understand whatever the case is. But for women, for the most part, men are throwing themselves at women all the time. All the time. I don't know too many women who have a hard time gaining some type of male attention, depending on, of course, different factors, how they look and this, that, and the other. I get all of that, the superficial reasons, right? But for the most part, women, you're always going to be able to secure men. Men, for the most part, like quality men at that. Quality men is a different story, but to gain the attention of a man, it's not really that hard for women to do. But on the flip side, for us men, if you don't got your shit together, good luck, fellas. Good luck. It's not really feasible. You got to come across a very like-minded individual woman who understands and is a little bit more compassionate. But you always got to meet them halfway as well, too. I don't think if you're a man who has nothing going for him right now in all departments, you should be thinking about dating. That should be the last thing on your mind, or unless you're looking for a woman who also has nothing and you guys are building together. But if you're a man who doesn't have nothing going for you at all, like financially, mentally, spiritually, nothing, you're just down bad across the board, then remove dating from your list of priorities. I say that all the time. Like, finding a woman maybe isn't as realistic if you are super down bad. But even if you're not fully across the finish line, myself as well too, my hand is raised, I'm not fully across my own self-defined finish line, but I do think I have enough to work with, where if a woman was interested, it's like, all right, I could work with that. But again, it's all going to be based on the person. But you got to meet these women halfway. That's fair to say. Ladies, don't ever think that I'm going to be, super for the man or whatever the case is. I hear y'all as well, too. I do somewhat understand the plight of the woman. So, yeah, fellas, we do got to meet these women halfway. Ladies, you do have to be a little bit more compassionate when dealing with men who are still on the come up, because society will make it seem like we're bums and losers and this, that, and the other because we don't got the 6-figure, 6-foot tall, 6-pack abs, the whole criteria that we typically hear in popular culture. But those are my thoughts, folks. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. What are the real reasons men are not dating anymore? Is it solely finances? Is it just compatibility? Is there piss in the dating pool, as I usually hear? Of course, those are my thoughts. I encourage you to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, and subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you guys on the next one.